And we are live, yo. What's going on, everybody? WrestlePurists Worldwide, episode 54, hosted by your usuals, myself, Joe Hulbert, Ibu of WrestlePurists, better known from you guys as Backup Hangman. And today, we're hoping to be joined by a very special guest, Rocky Romero, head of New Japan Lone Star, big US show for New Japan this weekend. He should be joining us shortly. But yeah, we've got a lot of things to get into. We're going to do our usual weekend recap and all that sort of stuff. First things first, please like, subscribe, send any super chats with any questions, any takes, anything like that. Turn on the post notifications. Hope everyone's doing good. So I'm my fellow co-host, Joe Hulbert. When I first saw you this evening, the WCW Nitro hat popped me very much. How you doing, brother?
I'm tremendous. I thought it was fitting, as the first good Monday Night Wrestling show since Nitro's demise. Thought I'd represent history and glory days. It's a special occasion. Fired up to be here for Worldwide, brother. A little bit of a different vibe, right? It's not one of those post-pay-per-view shows for us. Got some new stories to start, brother. New stories to start.
Definitely. Of course, there's been some reports surrounding a couple of quite high-profile Joshi talent, which has been very interesting to see unfold today. So yeah, we've got a few things to get into. Of course, we've got the interview with Rocky, hopefully as soon as. Yeah, man. Ibu, Backup Hangman, what's going on, brother?
I'm pretty good. This morning was the funniest this app has been in like a few weeks. With all the, between Sukiban, the company run by DJ Envy, and just all of that hilarity.
Wait,
it just
the promotion ran by who?
DJ Envy.
This is a scoop.
Yes.
Don't aggregate that, folks.
I inquired as to how DJ Envy finds the money to fund Sukiban, and I was told that he flips houses. He doesn't sell them. He flips them. That's the word that they use.
Accusations going on here.
But, it kind of popped me huge that Sari chose Chuck E. Cheese tokens over a WWE contract.
What has Sukiban ever done to you, Ibu?
Very personal.
I don't have anything against Sukiban.
It's a promising idea. They've signed a big name just now. They've got Paul Nakano in the mix.
Monty, if you watched that video that they dropped a couple hours ago, you changed your mind.
Well, I did see a few seconds of that because our good friend, member of the WrestlePurists family, Peps, did happen to post it on his Twitter page. But
everybody take note. He said a few seconds. That man closed that motherfucker.
When you put it on 2x speed as well. one of my favorite Twitter, one of my favorite Elon Musk era Twitter features is the speed up the videos.
I didn't even know you could do that. If we have time, I'm going to force Joe to live react to the Sukiban video at the end of the podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
That feels unfortunate. I'm already sitting in a WCW hat, bro. Come on. I'm already on the ropes here, I
was going to watch their first show, and then I was told that the show is being streamed exclusively on TikTok. I don't know what TikTok is. I barely do. It's
very popular,
They make these like people like dance and shit on there, right? Like they like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I don't. That's interesting.
Get Manny the Hooper on there.
Oh God, that will secure me. Never downloading a TikTok. Nevertheless,
that tweet earlier, bro. I was like, this guy, man.
Which one?
He tweeted, I do not have, and he was like in quote marks TikTok. He's like, this guy is like TikTok. This is. He's surely playing into the gimmick that he's an old man at this point. But anyway,
I'm happy to be here. This is going to be a fun show. Rocky Romero's coming by, guys. We get to talk to Asuka, Rocky Romero, one of the most important people in the business at the moment. So I'm looking forward to talking with Mr. Romero, and I'm happy to be here, man. It should be a fun evening of a wrestling conversation.
Yeah, man. We always have a good time on these Monday shows. So. You mentioned Suri. Obviously, she signed for Sukiban. WWE, of course, had interest in her, which was very recently reported as well. So to see it go from WWE interest to literally like the next day, she signed a multi-year deal with this new US-based Joshi promotion was kind of like, it took a lot of people by surprise. It was quite funny to see the reactions to it. But it seems like she's taking a bit of a gamble with this one, Hulbert. What do you think?
You think? Yeah, I reckon so. It's so hard to gauge what this deal is whenever you read like multi-year deal with promotions that are not
been around for
conventional
multi
promotions,
years.
your eyebrows do raise a bit, but you know, it's never gone wrong for anyone else, so we wish them the best.
Do you guys remember the World Entertainment Series promotion that was supposed to debut last
do, yeah.
It was only like 45 minutes from my house.
Bro,
Indeed, there are a lot of different wrestling contracts, and
guys,
I
was so locked in on that. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch this shit." Alistair
Braun
Overeem
Strowman versus Alistair Overeem in the main event.
We did a show where we predicted star ratings.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
classic
law classic.
That was worldwide before worldwide, Joe. Like we just us talking about this super entertainment series or whatever it's called.
It could have been a worldwide. We've done 54 episodes, man.
Man,
this is episode 54, brother. We're getting old, man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I hear you on that one.
Yeah, Ibu, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about this Sukiban Saray business? All jokes about money laundering aside.
I'm not joking.
Good lord. He tried to pick you out of that hole and you just went back in it.
Someone from Sukiban is going to issue a notice to me or something. Defamation. Now, listen, are you guys familiar with Court Bauer?
We are, yes. Definitely.
Speaking of the legal system.
Well, Mr. Bauer, he's notorious for sending out press releases for Major League Wrestling, better known to many fans as MLW. And his press releases are usually very they can be a bit hyperbolic, you know. They always have very interesting wording. Like he'll get a CMLL guy for a date, and then he'll get a guy who worked a strong show for a date, and then he'll put out a press release and it'll be like, MLW launches historic multi-show partnership with CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it's like, no, you just did a round of tapings with a guy who did a strong once, and then a fucking dude who just was in Arena Mexico, you liar.
That's a promoter, bro.
It is, that's
a promoter.
That's a promoter. Yeah, and so I saw this Sukiban press release that was sent out to various outlets, and they all shared it. Fightful, Monty shared it on WrestlePurists' account, you know, and I read this Sukiban press release about this historic exclusive multi-year deal with Sari, and I just thought, how are you signing a what contracts are you offering as an independent promotion, number one? Number two, how are you giving exclusive contracts as an indie? Number three, where are you finding the money to fund to pay for a wrestler for multiple years? So, you know, to say the least, I'm a little bit skeptical on just the validity of this contract and what medium it was printed on. But
sounding like the taxman or something, bro. You know, like wondering about the source of income and stuff for this promotion.
Here's the deal,
you never
Monty.
know.
I'm African, so I know a thing or two about you know, dealing with the system. You know, and, you know, do what you got to do.
Whatever, man. Whatever.
You know? Hopefully, look, this decision pops me because it meant Sari. You know, she was looking at WWE. She was looking at Sukiban. You know, she's looking at Peacock or TikTok, and she said, "You know what? I'm gonna go get some fucking Chuck E. Cheese tokens and wrestle in Sukiban." And it rules, because sometimes you got to make these kinds of potentially ill-advised decisions. You know, good for Sukiban. Hopefully this thing works and it's not a front. Hopefully the feds don't raid this promotion before the fourth show. Hopefully this becomes something. Hopefully it makes money in New York, because if it does, I might go to a show. It depends though. I don't want to. You know, anyway, I hopefully this thing works out. Yeah, good for Sari, good for Sukiban. I got some jokes off on the timeline about the NXT 2.0 theme song. I said that she was gonna sign with WWE until this song came on her playlist, and it was fucking Down South Slangin' by Wale.
Anyway, enough of Ibu's NXT tangents, but we are joined by our very special guest right now, so I'm going to add him into the stream. And as I said, As hoped, we are joined by Rocky Romero, who is one of the people who's contributed pretty heavily to the working relationships in the worldwide of wrestling, the Forbidden Door, as some of you call it. And he also just happens to be a wrestler who is one of WrestlePurists' cult favorites, so to speak. He can do it in the United States. He can do it in Japan. He can do it in Mexico. It's Rocky Romero. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man, of course. We've got the big New Japan Lone Star shootout in the US. Big show this weekend. But yeah, man, going to get into all that. And very happy to have you. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys having me. It's cool to be here. And I know you guys got a great following and pretty hardcore following.
Oh, yeah, we're trying.
It's cool to connect with you guys. Yeah.
Rocky,
yeah, Rocky. Listen, man, I was just talking about this with the guys earlier, but you've wrestled for fucking ever, and yet you're only 41 years old.
I'm old.
You're not. It's weird. You're not that old, but you're a veteran, right? You've seen it all. You've been everywhere. Yeah. And what strikes me is how in 2023, in and out of the business, you're having maybe your best year ever. And also, you're one of the most important people in the entire industry. You know, for those that don't know in our audience, Rocky Romero is a significant figure and power broker in just forging this relationship between All Elite Wrestling and New Japan.
I like that, power broker.
Power broker, man. You gotta make it sound like
it gets colorfully booed.
You gotta make it sound like you know what I mean? Yeah, it's true though. Like you're really big in connecting those two sides and those two worlds, right? And you've performed in both spots. And you play a big role in putting together these strong shows. And now you're one of the top heels in Arena Mexico. And you're also helping bridge them and CMLL to AEW. My first question to you, with all this kind of being the case, is how did we get here? How did Rocky Romero become the great connector of the wrestling industry?
I don't know. It just kind of fell into my lap, I think. Yeah, I mean, Tiger Hattori was a big influence on me, obviously, and that's kind of what he did. I feel like before I was doing it, he was doing stuff like that, and I think he mentored me a lot. When I came into New Japan the last probably 7 years or so. So yeah, I don't know. I think just kind of watching what he does and how he works with people, and how he was always, I don't know, just thinking about oh, this seems like this might work great if these two people work together, or whatever it is, or maybe if we bring this person to New Japan, or if we whatever it may be. So I think that I just kind of picked up on that intuition, and through him learned that kind of role and to work for New Japan. And I think that's just kind of just started from there, blew up from there. And I didn't know, nobody knew there was going to be an AEW or anything, so obviously the connection between AEW and New Japan is so strong, since the Elite were a part of New Japan at that time. And and I think it just kind of all just naturally happened, but yeah, I was looking back on this year, a couple of weeks ago after the CMLL and AEW thing, and I was just like, all this shit is super crazy. It's very crazy. This year has been, and I'm really proud of my CMLL stuff. The most, I think it's some of the best work in my career, especially as a singles wrestler. So, yeah, I don't know. It's been a great year. It's been a fun year. I hope some point I hope to sleep. That would be great. Just get some rest. And stop jumping all across the world at any given moment. I'm in Japan right now. I just woke up. It's 8 a.m. And I actually went to Yano's bar last night because he celebrated his 11th anniversary. So I got back late, and I had dinner with Okada. He actually is my best friend, guys. So.
Wow.
And
how good is your Japanese, Rocky?
It's just been cool. Oh, terrible. Awful.
Tremendous.
Terrible.
We talk often on this show about that golden generation, Joe, Punk, AJ, Bryan, and you're part of that. And in some cases, you predate a bunch of those guys, right? Do you ever have the moment where you look around the wrestling scene, and it's because it's not just you. Like many of those names have sustained and found new life in this new decade. Do you ever have a wild moment when you remember like the matches you had with those guys in front of much smaller buildings in very different times back like 2 decades ago now?
No, I'm just so much in the moment. Like it's hard.
Constantly moving.
I've literally done so much stuff I forget about it, and then like I'll be like talking to TJP or something. He's like, "Remember this?" I'm like, "No, we did that." I was like, "He's like, yeah, we did that," and I'm like, "Oh, cool. Was it cool?" Like I'm just like everything's just moves so fast in the professional wrestling business, and it's like. I need to take more moments like that and take it in and try to talk to if I ever do write a book or something, like I have to literally have a conversation with every person that I know so I can figure out what I did, because it's always been like that for me. It's just moving so fast. Yeah.
Do you have any funny and or unexpected backstage stories from just being with the boys in New Japan Pro Wrestling? Obviously legal ones that will not, implicate any individuals.
I'm so bad when people put me on the spot to come up with like funny anecdotes about like what we've done or stuff. Backstage stuff. I don't know. I would say this. So my favorite backstage person to mess around with and bully is Kojima. Like he's a legend, but for some reason, everybody just bullies him, and it's just the funniest thing of all time. Like he sells it like so great. Like obviously like in Japan, there's like a senpai kohai thing,
right.
Where like senpai who is the elder, and the kohai is like the young person coming in. But for some reason, it doesn't matter with Kojima, and even though he's like this living legend, like so everybody just comes in and just kind of just bullying the hell out of Kojima, but like funny, like teasing him and stuff.
Yeah,
and, about bread and nonsense. Like Kojima just has this great like cackle laugh where it's like, and it's amazing. I don't know. Yeah, he's my favorite person to mess with backstage for sure, by far. Okada's a great backstage
Friday
person
too, right?
What do you say, Joe?
Kojima has a big match Friday, of course, with Eddie. Kingston's given you a lot of credit about like bringing him kind of under the New Japan banner. I know you had the match recently on Rampage. How fun has it been for you, considering that credit, watching him have this run? Because he's producing some of the best work of his career, and he's doing it, ticking off these Japanese legends off the bucket list. How cool has that been for you?
Awesome. I'm such a big fan of Eddie Kingston, and I feel like Eddie's just on a crazy run. Like ever since he started with AEW, it's like his work just went like just through the roof, and he's just like I love like him, watching him do promos, and like him just like he's just completely in the moment at all times, which is like the hardest thing to do as a professional wrestler. And it's cool because like everything he's so, I mean, it's him, right? It truly is him. Like he's just wearing his heart on his sleeve. He's just the most open person. And it's like, I don't know. It's amazing to watch. And he's one of my favorite performers of all time. So like, getting him in on Strong, and then getting him in, into the G1 last year, or this year, sorry, obviously it was a big deal for him. So like, that's the cool part about like my job is like when I do help somebody out or connect something where like it works out really well, like Eddie's situation, and he gets to like live out his dream, since he was a kid, and he gets to live out his dream and be in the G1. It's like, that's the coolest part of this whole thing, I feel like.
Absolutely. My next thing for you though, Rocky, is you've had a tremendous year in CMLL. And for those that aren't aware, this guy is one of the biggest villains right now in Mexico. And pretty good at your job. You're pretty good at getting them to boo you over there, So much so, listen, a great heel can always help get other baby faces even more over. And I think, personally speaking, this is just my opinion, I think that CMLL is having just an incredible year, right? And I think you could credit it partially to just some of the timing-wise, coming out of the pandemic and having the hot live crowds again. You got these young luchadors who are kind of peak or kind of coming into their own right at the right time. And I think they have the right guy to kind of go against with you in particular. And obviously Mystico is Mystico. And then you got the veterans like a Volador. But, speaking of like the young guys, like a Soberano or a Templario or guys like that, the new Mascara Dorada, who do you think who stands out the most to you that you've worked with as a guy who could be like a really big time flag bearer for their promotion and just for the industry going for the next couple of years?
So yeah, like I was saying, I went to eat with Okada last night, and we were talking about CMLL, and the guy that I think is, I mean, obviously he's just so young. He has like the shortest amount of time, really, short amount of time in the business, but he's so gifted and athletic, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. Mascara Dorada, the new Mascara Dorada.
Yeah,
I think, I think he's going to be a major player. Like he's just the way that he's almost like a Will Ospreay in the fact of like the way that he like does his acrobatics is like with so much intention, and like it's not just like a cool looking flip. It's like I don't know. There's like a certain like torque to it, to everything he does. And I think that when you're that type of athlete and you're that young, it's like you really have the potential to be like one of the best wrestlers in the world, like we're seeing with Will now, I mean, like Will in the beginning, just thought it was cool to do flips and stuff and things like that. But like now he has, he's a grown man. He grew into who Will Ospreay was. And he's, now, in my opinion, the greatest professional wrestler on the planet, bar none, he's really just the most gifted. And like now, especially now, Will really figured out like who the personality of Will Ospreay is too, So like now he cuts great promos. Like I don't know, he's just a complete player in every single facet. So yeah, but I think somebody like Mascara Dorada definitely for CMLL could be massive. And I think obviously having the right rivalries is going to help to get him there a lot faster. And different experiences, right? So like if coming over to the States and working in Japan, I think he'll start to get it pretty quick. He's a smart kid, and I think he could really be huge.
I know you worked in Mexico like years back. You had a few runs, right? Was it always a goal to get back and have a prolonged run like this? Because I think for fans, it has caught people off guard how big a run you've had at this point in your career. Because a lot of people were looking at you transition into the other side of things. You've reminded people this year how much you have left in the ring. Was it always a goal to do that in Mexico? Or is it just kind of you fell into it kind of deal?
So so the first time I went to Mexico was in 2003, and I had a great run. Me, TJP, Bobby Quance, and Ricky Reyes. We did this thing where we're the Havana Brothers, and we had like match of the year, and it was awesome, right? Like really awesome experience, just in the early years of my career. And then I went back in like 2007 or 8 and just had like, I had this like, they had this mask for me called Gray Shadow, and it was a complete flop. So I just had this like, I went from having like match of the year, most amazing time ever in Mexico, then going back and just being like, the whole thing was terrible. Then I jumped to AAA. That was terrible. Everything. I just made all the wrong moves in like 2 years. It was a tough 2 years, guys. It really was. And but honestly, like you learn so much when you make mistakes like that, and like things don't go as planned. I mean, that was honestly the most important part of my career, because I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about like the industry, and so like I always have this like thing in my head, like I cannot retire one day and then have Mexico just hanging over my head, So like when the opportunity came, and I never thought I'd go back to CML because I kind of burned them when I jumped to AAA and threw the mask down, and it was like a whole thing. And I was like banned from working with anybody from CMLL for years, and even in New Japan, like they wouldn't let me do Fantastic Mania for like years. And then finally, like New Japan was like, this guy's been under contract for like 8 years. Can he please do this show? Because we kind of need him for this. And their CML was like, fine, but he has to lose. So I lost like every match, of course. And So yeah, when they called me and said they wanted me for the Grand Prix last year, I was like, really? Me back in Arena, Mexico? And I was like, oh no, I got to make this good, you know? So for some reason they wanted to do like this press conference with me, like a virtual press conference where like all the media like chimes in and they ask you questions. So I just was like, I'm going to go. Yes. I mean, they kind of ask it. I mean, there's media, so they ask real questions though, you know. I mean, it's not completely kayfabe, but I mean, I just decided to do it completely. Like, I'm gonna do like a Conor McGregor press conference and just go buck wild and start talking shit on everything and kind of play the line of truth and not truth. You know,
get yourself over, make it productive. You know.
Get yourself over, because like also like nobody's doing stuff like that in cinema. Like if you do it in America, like unless you know, some people are really good at it, some people it's like, this is hokey, you know. But I just did that, and like the Volador thing, like I wrestled Volador like 20 years ago, so like I just started going in on him and like just talking shit and kind of like playing the line of like, you know, Volador's like, you know, he's a strong personality. Let's just put it that way, you know, like in real life, you know. So like, there's people who like him and there's some people who don't, you know. So I just played that, you know, as much as I could, and then I could see everybody like really enjoying it, so you know, and like getting into it like with the media. So because I could see their faces, you know, it was like Zoom. So so I was like, okay, cool, that's working, and then it kind of took off from there. And then the Volador thing, I don't think they had plans to bring me back after the Grand Prix, but I think I just kind of stole the show, you know, and then it was okay, cool. This is something that we could run with. Yeah.
It really caught fire, man. Like, it was even getting like a lot of recognition over in like the States and stuff like that. Obviously, myself and Joe at the top of the screen as well. Like, we're in the UK. We was hearing a lot about, you know, you got to see Volador and Rocky do this and that, you know, and it was really interesting to see kind of like how it blew up for you over there, you know. But you mentioned like kind of the, you know, kind of the weirdness, the politics we sometimes call it, with, you know, getting back into CMLL and like your time away from there. You know, like we mentioned at the start of the show, you're one of the people who's been trying to work on building working relationships between promotions, of course, AEW, New Japan. You recently actually revealed that I think it was on WrestlePurists Live, that you was one of the people that kind of helped get the conversation started with AEW and CMLL. But you did say it wasn't the easiest task at first. Was that just because of like the AAA stuff, or was there some other factors at play?
Yeah, I honestly like the lucha companies. I mean, the politics are deep, right? They goes back, you know, 30 plus years. And, you know, when they started AAA, it was people from CMLL that started AAA, right? So there was like there's a lot of stuff going on there, right? And people jumping back and forth, and they're obviously, you know, their biggest competitors, right? So, it wasn't like, so everybody's kind of been linked up, right? Like AAA has been linked up with AEW, New Japan's been linked up with CMLL, and it's just very hard to mix those worlds. And even went so much that if they're on the same card, it's like a no-no, right? So, I mean, I feel like those things are kind of obviously like changing. There's still some rules and things that like CMLL has asked for just for when Mystico came to AEW, you know, like obviously there was like no, you know, El Vikingo on the card, or like, you know, certain wrestlers that are obviously super affiliated with AAA. So, I mean, and I get it, you know, I get that part. But when I brought the conversation together and we talked about Mystico, and obviously like Tony being a big fan of Mystico and you know, wanting him to wrestle on AEW, and also like he likes CMLL and he used to watch it back in the day. So I brought it to CMLL. No, obviously in the beginning there was like a lot of like, wait, what? AEW? Like, we don't work with them, you know? I'm like, no, I know, but you work with New Japan, and New Japan works with AEW, and that's going well. True. So like, you know, like, let's try it out. But like, but yeah, I think thankfully I was able to get Tony and Salvador Lutheroth, who's the owner of CMLL, on the phone call, and they had a great conversation, and that really it's all about communication, right? It's just like any relationship, when you have good communication and you're able to talk things out, at least you can kind of understand what the other person wants and what the other person, is thinking, and like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And it all kind of works out, so I feel like, that obviously it's a big deal because CMLL is always been like, I don't know how to put this without talking shit, but like in any kind of way. But like, they're just they haven't been friendly to outside companies, besides New Japan. So, yeah, it's all political.
To kind of like
Maybe I'll
outline
run for president one day.
Maybe.
to kind of like outline what it seems like, the parameters seem to be that no CMLL talent and AAA talent can be on the same show or same card. Is that just for AEW, or is that something that now can apply to like all companies like New Japan and just worldwide as well, or is that just something that was figured out for AEW?
No, that's kind of been, for sure, CML and AAA's policies for a long time. Like it often will happen where you'll see like, a CML talent pop up on a poster for a card in Wisconsin, and there happens to be a AAA person on there too, and you'll see one of them disappear, off the.
I just mean like in the sense of like, now that, because obviously AEW has AAA talent sometimes, and it was like they were working with AAA, and now that you've been able to bring like CMLL over there as well, it's kind of like, was it a thing of AEW are able to work with AAA and CMLL wrestlers as long as it's on different shows and different dates, or is that something that like every company can do? Because it seems like most companies either work with CMLL or AAA. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at.
It's all brand new, I mean, like I don't really know, obviously like it happening in AEW is a big deal, and obviously AEW's platform is important to that too, because when Tony put up that
press release,
that not the
graphic,
press release, right? But the graphic, yeah. I mean, it went buck wild on Twitter or X or whatever you call it now. Yeah. So like millions and millions of views for it. So obviously, like, I'm sure CMLL sees that as well, and like what a great opportunity is to work with Tony, and and the platform that he's got, and obviously Tony going into Dallas and going to certain markets, having Mystico helps a lot, for sure. So yeah, it kind of like it was one of those situations where like it all makes sense for everybody, right? If we just work together, put the politics aside, put the egos aside for a second, and like let's look at this as a real situation where like this is a thing that will benefit all parties involved, and I feel like it definitely did. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, like really, like I hope that there will be more crossover between AEW and CMLL for sure. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of really amazing wrestlers in CMLL that like the U.S. fans and worldwide fans just have never seen, and really unique, special, real lucha libre, like straight up real lucha libre, which was super cool, and that's the cool thing about the CMLL product.
I agree, and I just love the authenticity of it. It just feels like you feel like you're getting it straight from the source with that. And what I liked was it was a real big thing to try to bring that with that specific style and presentation to AEW setting, like on that Rampage where you did the Mystical Rocky match, from just the way you worked, you're doing the 2 out of 3 falls and all that type of stuff. It got over good, and when you talk about it benefiting all parties, I agree in the sense that I think that there's just so much that CMLL has to offer wrestling fans that stateside over here, people just aren't aware of because it's just hard to even access the product. And so I hope this can kind of lead to just an increased awareness from that standpoint. And so kind of speaking towards that and just seeing as how, this is still a very new thing, a new process, a new relationship that you guys are forging. Do you think it's realistic to expect CMLL involvement at the next Forbidden Door?
That's a good question. I mean, I would like it. I would like there to be for sure. Yeah, I don't know yet. It hasn't completely been a conversation with all parties, and I think there's some stuff that's got to be probably like worked out a little bit before that. Yeah, I think the next step, honestly, though, is just to see if there's any more space for Mystico to come back or CML talent to come into AEW and do some stuff. And I think that's probably the more viable next step, and then we can go from there. But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, like, it would be cool, to see certain wrestlers who were left off of Forbidden Door, the Pentas and Andrades and certain wrestlers maybe do a Forbidden Door. That would obviously be a big step in the right direction too. So like, especially there's some guys that are not, like, Phoenix isn't doing AAA anymore. He quit AAA, and Andrade quit AAA. So like that could be a good next step. I feel like, having them be on Forbidden Door and doing crossover with New Japan wrestlers, because we haven't been able to do it. So that would be awesome. It'd be awesome to have Andrade come and do a New Japan show, or a New Japan US show, or Phoenix.
Put the La Sombra mask back on, maybe.
That'd be awesome. That'd be sick. I mean, he's former Intercontinental champion, right? So like, it'd be nice to have him come back. Obviously he's been killing it in AEW. Every time he shows up and he wrestles, and he like kills it. So like, I would love to see him.
He's great, man.
Come back at some point. Yeah.
Is it hard at all? Like, you're navigating all of these political elements, and we've been discussing here for a bit. Is it hard to like lock in when it's time to actually go out there and wrestle and have the matches you're going to have to switch, or is it something you've just become natural at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've definitely been doing it long enough that it's easier to lock in for sure, and kind of get it down. And but yeah, there's some times where it just feels like there's being pulled in so many different ways in so many directions, and it's like hard to focus. I'm not got to really like do and like I'm getting older, right? So I got like my pre-match ritual, especially like for big matches. I gotta like time out when I'm gonna drink this coffee or whatever. I got my whole thing down. So like that definitely helps, and like not even know if it's like, it could all be like placebo in a way, but it all kind of like helps me get into the right mood that I'm supposed to be, to perform. So yeah, like I've kind of got all that down, and it's definitely helpful. But yeah, like even at strong shows, there's like a million things going on for me always. And somehow I just lock it in, or like somehow I'm just like, I don't care. I'll see you out there. Figure it out.
It's crazy, Rocky, because you know why that doesn't shock me? I watch you, and I watch your approach to wrestling, and it really much just kind of feels like you just naturally kind of read what the vibe is out there, how the crowd is reacting, and just kind of the ebbs and flows of the match, and kind of just work towards that. And that suggests somebody who just kind of gets wrestling on like a deeper level now. And you sometimes I'll just read about wrestling, and people will suggest that like you really, really, become your best self like deeper into your career and in that phase. And earlier you were talking about how Ospreay now has just become a complete player, and you talked about how Mascara Dorada, the new one, has that type of upside as well. I watched your match with Volador Jr., and one of the big things that stood out to me was just like Rocky Romero has mastered wrestling. And so my question for you is, one, when do you think you really fully put it all together as a wrestler? And number two, do you think that Volador Jr. match is your best match ever? The one in January.
Best match ever. Yeah, my best match ever is probably the ELP match from the Best Super Juniors, like
2019.
Yeah, I think 2019. I think that's my best match ever, but only because there was girls crying in the match.
Oh,
so that was just like a deeper level
of
of storytelling, and like how it all just worked out. Like, yeah, to have like somebody actually crying in a match, to what's going on, I feel like, okay, this is my best work for sure. That's my Academy Award. I'm done. You know,
That's the goal, right? To just make him react like that. That's the goal.
Make him emote, but like to cry. I mean, like during wrestling. I mean, like
it's a lot.
I feel like I'm proud of that one. Yeah, so,
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that might be my best. So yeah, probably the Volador January match, probably like my second best match.
Okay,
for sure. But figuring it all out. I mean, honestly, I feel like the crazy thing about wrestling is it's such an art form and a crazy art form that like you're always figuring it out as you're going along. You know, like you're still like I'm still figuring it out at every single second, and discovering new things about wrestling and how I wrestle and how to connect with people and how to react with people. Because like even in AEW, I haven't figured it out completely. Just because the way it works, live TV sometimes, and it's like there's just a million things going on, and they're yelling at you you've got 4 minutes left, and and it's like so I feel like terrible. It's terrible. Like wrestling on live TV is fucking terrible. But I don't know how people enjoy it at all. It's so against the things that I love about wrestling in a way, like when you're performing out there,
Mm-hmm.
But definitely being able to do like Rampage takes a lot of stress out of it, because like you have time cues obviously, but like they could shave 20-30 seconds off here and there, whatever, 10 seconds, so it's not like right on. Live is awful, but for me, I'll get there one day hopefully. But yeah, so like that, like even that is just a new like experience with a lot of stress, in that hopefully there's a million people watching and there's just a lot going on. But yeah, so like I still have other things and avenues that I want to get better at and grow into, and so yeah, definitely like my whole AEW experience has been awesome for that. It's challenging, and I still haven't figured out like completely the AEW crowd. I don't know if I was there every week and I was there doing it often, it just kind of naturally comes, like people start to get to know you better. But yeah, I also am like really proud of the work that I've gotten to do in AEW with like cool featured matches, that Tony's given me. Like I got to wrestle Danielson, and
that was
stuff
great
with Trent. Yeah, that was an awesome match. It was like, and just how like, I don't know, for me personally too, because me and Danielson go back, so many years from the original LA dojo, and we wrestled each other a million times in that dojo. And, so to do it on TV and, his career, him coming back and everything's just like, I don't know, it was a cool moment for me personally, where I actually took the second and said, oh, this is really cool. Like, I'm glad I'm getting to do this with him, like on TV. This is, really, really cool, so yeah. And then like stuff with Trent and, anything with Trent is always cool for me because he's one of my good friends. And, obviously like we have a great history and past as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the cool stuff I really love about AEW and Tony and in general is like, he's obviously such an aficionado in so many ways. And like, he knows all the histories and all the stuff. So like he does stuff that I feel like I enjoy. Like that's the wrestling stuff that I enjoy because like, I know the deeper stories. Right. So like, and I'm actually like being involved in it. So like, it's like, I don't know, it's meaningful for me, and he always like seems to give me some kind of opportunity that feels like meaningful, so it's cool. Yeah. Even getting to work with Mystico, I mean, that was super meaningful for me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was a special moment. It felt like for like wrestling TV, honestly.
It was really cool.
Is it a goal for you to like have? Those feature matches are always making any AEW fans thrilled when they see you on one of those match graphics. But like, is it something that definitely interests you, like a prolonged run where you can have a more week-to-week storytelling? Is that something you actively are kind of hoping for? Is it just, we'll see what happens in the future?
I mean, I'm definitely like, we'll just see what happens in the future.
Yeah.
But I feel like it would be cool just to experience it, just like for the actual experience of like, working a program to a pay-per-view or something, like working a true program to pay. And I've gotten like some taste of it, especially with the first Forbidden Door.
Mhm.
But you know, like it would be cool just for me personally before I retire, you know, to just have that experience and you know, and just because, like, I don't know, for me, like, I just always wanted to be like a well-rounded wrestler. Like, I wanted to be like, you know, Eddie and Kurt Angle, all these guys, you know, who were like, could wrestle anybody at any place, anywhere, anytime, you know, could just drop them somewhere and they would have, you know, the best match of the night with that, you know, with a guy
Absolutely.
from Thailand, you know, whatever. So yeah, but like I would love to just kind of like experience it and kind of get a feel for it. And also like it would help me like I'm better at learning and explaining what I want and like or like giving advice to somebody if I've experienced it myself, right? And like
Mhm.
because it's a little more like you kind of felt it, you know what it's like. You can kind of give better advice. So yeah, I would like to do that, you know, so you know, for the next generation I can pass on that knowledge as well, you know, once I've experienced it and felt it, you know. Otherwise I'm just kind of like talking out of my ass if I'm, you know,
What
talking about because I don't know, right? Like I'm like I think, but I'll also tell
what
you like I think this is what's going on. Yeah.
what shocks me, Rocky, I mean, I guess it shouldn't because we're always learning every day, but it does surprise me to hear you saying that like you're still kind of picking stuff up and like you haven't totally figured the game out. But I mean, that probably just comes with going everywhere. You're going all over the world. You're wrestling in different places, and different crowds want different things. And so, I guess my question to you, since you've been wrestling for so long, and you've been wrestling everywhere for so long, is to you in the moment, are there old tricks that you feel like in modern wrestling, in your experience, don't work as well as they used to when you're in there?
Honestly, I think that the old tricks work better
Mm,
now because I think like modern wrestling has gone away from it. And like you kind of look at MJF in a way, I
right.
think he's an interesting example of like trying to use a lot of old tricks to, you know, take the show away, like steal the show. He's trying to steal the show at every second, you know, like I think that's MJF's way of kind of doing things. And that, I think it's working for him as well. So it's like, yeah, I think he uses a lot of old tricks. And I think that obviously it kind of sticks out in the way he does it. And so, yeah, I don't know. He's not trying to be an overly like tough guy. He's not trying to be like, uh, you know, he's just kind of being like almost like on the nose sometimes cliche wrestler guy, you know, which
Right.
is, you know, old school wrestler guy, you know. So I don't know. I think what's cool about wrestling now is like kind of anything works. You know, you've got
If
like
you're good at
such
it, yeah.
a mishmash. If
Yeah,
you're
of
good at
course.
it, if you're good at
Yeah.
it, there's kind of such a mishmash of different people and styles and and now like just the way that you know modern wrestling is like you can easily educate yourself about certain things and certain people when they come in pretty quickly. So I don't know. I think kind of like experience wise, I think yeah, like stuff that you know. I mean, you kind of know like stuff that works, right? If you watch wrestling, you kind of know the rules. You kind of understand the timing of like how wrestling works. You know, usually it's kind of like comedy. There's a lot of things that really work well if it's in threes, right? You know, or if it's, you know, like you just start to pick all these things up because you wrestling fans, they know them, so you just got to play into them. I feel like. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, like I'm always learning stuff and like definitely watching like people who are super good at it, like a Will or a Kenny or an Okada, or, you know, whatever, Seth Rollins, you know, like there's so many good performers out there now. It's like,
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like a young person getting into wrestling now is like, I don't know, like
Lucky.
there's so much great, yeah, dude, there's so many great wrestlers out there. So it's like you can pick up really quick if you're paying attention. If you're actually paying attention and studying it, you can pick it up so quick. For me, like it was harder, I think, in my generation. Like obviously we had like great wrestlers that we used to look at, you know, but like I think like obviously even in Japan, but like in Japan would be like crazy, like Liger would lock up with somebody and then just powerbomb them. You know, you're just like, wait, that's like so against like everything that like what
You were taught.
yeah, like what? So, but then even now, I kind of understand why he probably did that. You know, like now I could be like, yeah, if you're doing, you know, there's 8 matches on the show and everybody's seen everything, right? And it's all kind of had the same like trajectory and flow every single match. Why not just do a power bomb right off the off the lockup and see what happens, you know? And you're gonna shock the crowd, right? And then it's like, then they're just maybe it's just a 4-minute match and like that's it, you know? Like why not?
God.
You know? So
Rocky,
you know, so
fucking, sorry, I was just gonna say it's like you know, remember the big Hiromu squash on Kushida 6 years ago that stood out, where he just does like a sunset flip power bomb off the, like, it just, stuff like that stands out. There's that Kawada's first famous singles match with Misawa, and I want to say 92 for the Triple Crown. It opened up with a backdrop driver within like the first 3 seconds, you know. Like,
it's like stuff like that when it jumps out the norm, it always like it sticks with you more. You know, it's just one of those things. It's just natural. But in fear of kind of jumping around, I've got one question from myself. I've got a question from a friend of ours, and we have got a few questions from the live chat. If you're happy to answer some of those, Rocker. But my question was, of course, you know, you did the match with Mystico on Rampage, and you know we kind of had a different feel. You've done the 2 out of 3 falls, of course, we've already spoke about it. But what was CMLL's you know, like, what was the feedback you got after that? You know, like, were they really happy with the way AEW presented it and the performance from Mystico and yourself? Did you kind of, and from your point of view, did you kind of get the impression that they want to push forward and do a little bit more going into the new year?
Yeah, I think that CMLL's impression of the match and the whole presentation was they were extremely happy with it. Mystico himself was like extremely happy with it. I believe the owner of CMLL was super happy. I mean, they put out a press release, I think like the day after, I want to say, or maybe the day after it aired. And they, you know, they thanked Tony, they thanked AEW, and they were pretty excited to see what could possibly happen in the future. So, I mean, I definitely think there's gonna be something down the road. You know, like I said, like I think the next step is just, you know, getting, you know, CMLL talent back in AEW, whether it be Mystico or somebody else, or even, you know, maybe an AEW star goes to CMLL. You know, that could also be like you know, the next step. You know, either way. So like, yeah, I think overall, you know, obviously in Mexico itself and kind of the Lucha Libre community, it was a huge, massive deal because, you know, everybody knows for so long, the only real ally has been New Japan for CMLL for many years. There hasn't been anybody else, you know. So, so I think it's just really, really cool and interesting. But and I think something will happen soon. You know, sooner than later for sure. You know, I think it just depends on AEW's schedule too. You know, like where they're going now. That you know they are going to be in the West Coast, right? Starting this week or next week. So I feel like that would be a good, if it was me, I definitely feel like that would be a good time to book a CML talent while you're on the West Coast.
Definitely an opportunity,
you know, obviously like, heavy Latino communities, you know, so like, you know, that would definitely be helpful and a good way to kind of feature everybody up. But they also got a pay-per-view coming up in the house. So have a lot of story to tell too, you know, so.
All right. So our good friend Manny the Hooper, our audience know all about him. He used to co-host this show with us. He has a question for you. He's a big fan. He says, "Mr. Rocky, do you feel the pressure trying to build these relationships with other promotions and trying to maintain them to make sure nothing bad happens?"
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's so much like I feel pressure, but I feel like it's my job, right? Like if I put something together, I want to make sure that it's being maintained correctly and being nurtured, right? You know, so that it can continue to grow and there can continue to be, you know, just the relationship can prosper, so yeah, I mean, but I'm not like, I don't like stress about it or anything. I definitely don't feel like super pressured about it. But I think it's my responsibility, right? Like, to try to make sure that everybody's happy, and obviously, like, that's a hard thing, because obviously there's going to be, giving and taking, always, so I try to just always keep that in mind. Like, okay, well, AEW is being very giving in this situation. So, let's try to like do something for AEW
Right.
and, so that they can get something in return, so, and that's kind of like, that's how kind of always been my philosophy and how it goes about, like, that's the kind of wrestler that I am, like a super giving wrestler. Because I don't like selfish wrestlers, so like I'm a giving wrestler, so like I've always just been giving in my career, like when it comes to like my work, and because I know that I also figured out too, like when you're out there, like I know how to take the moment back too, so it's like I'm never feeling like stressed about it, overly, because I can always take that moment back, and like I've been doing this long enough that I have little tricks and things that, I can take a moment when needed. But yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't know. We'll see what happens next with CMLL and with New Japan and AEW and MLW. I mean, we're working with like so many people. Impact, or TNA, I should say now.
TNA.
So,
yeah.
TNA. Yeah.
We're back.
Yeah, man, it's
back. We're back, baby.
We're fucking back.
Man, absolutely. All right, so yeah, man, let's go to the live chat. We've got a few messages, but yeah, we'll try power through them. First one, Pure Kid 99. Yeah, £2. Appreciate you. Rocky Romero is a backstage genius. God bless. Mike G, $5. He says, "Ask Rocky, when are we going to see Kenny Omega versus Mystico in Arena, Mexico?"
Dude, that would go hard. That'd be great. Maybe
Kenny would have to work heel there.
Oh, Kenny would love that.
Yeah, he'd be great at that. Yeah,
he would love that.
Showtown Spurs, $10, says, "Rocky, how important is it to learn, respect, and fully understand the cultures of not only the wrestling world in these countries like Japan and Mexico, but in doing business in general?"
Yeah, important.
Good question.
Important. Definitely. Definitely. It's all important, right? So, like, definitely, I wouldn't be able to do this job as successfully as it's gone so far, without definitely spending time in each of those countries enough to to really understand, like, culturally, like how things work, and or at least have a good idea and a good sense for it. So yeah, super important, and obviously, like, yeah, the number one thing, like, piece of advice I got when I was just coming up was from my trainer Jesse Hernandez, was like, always treat everybody with respect. If you always treat everybody with respect, you'll never have a problem in the professional wrestling business.
Yeah.
And it's like 101, so like, whoever it is too, whether it's, the guy putting the ring together, the guys, who's selling the merchandise, or the gal who's cleaning up the restroom, it doesn't matter. If you treat them all with respect, this business will, will most likely, you'll be able to build relationships and survive,
Yeah.
So, and that's a big deal part of it too, is like just building relationships, and in professional wrestling or any kind of workplace. I mean, it really is all about relationships,
Absolutely. Brian Buster, $4.99, appreciate it. He says, "Going to Lone Star Shootout this Friday. Very excited. Keep up the good work, fellas."
Thank you, Brain Buster.
Yeah, it's a hell of a card too.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, it's definitely one of the big. It's definitely one of the big New Japan US shows of the year. A lot going on. Very exciting. Everyone needs to be tapped in for it.
Wait, before you go to the next one, Monty, since we're on Lone Star Shootout, Mayu's on the show. She's Mayu Iwatani is defending. It's the IWGP Women's Championship, correct? Against Stephanie Vaquer.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, I'm into that, man. I've watched more of Stephanie this year when I've been kind of taking in these CMLL shows, so that should be really good. it seemed that belt was created for Mercedes Moné. And my question for you is, do we have an update on her? Like her situation? Is she still hurt? Is it a negotiation deal? Like, could you provide an update of any kind for us regarding her situation?
I honestly don't have any update right now. I hope that I'll be talking to her agent and her maybe soon-ish.
Okay.
But I honestly don't have any update yet about anything. And the last thing I had heard was that she was recovering well, and and basically they were going to let me know reach out when she was getting close to a comeback. So yeah, so I'm not really sure where we're at.
Still the intention for her to because there was like a recent report, but there's no current dates booked for Mercedes Moné, and there was a bit of panic. Like, what do you mean? I thought she was wrestling Giulia. I thought she was wrestling Mayhew. You know what I mean? It's so.
People were freaking out.
I guess it's good to know that there is still like intention there for them to reach out when she's recovered.
There's definitely still communication, and obviously though, I don't know what she's gonna want to do when she comes back for sure. And especially coming back from a serious injury, and like that kind of messed up her, maybe messed up her time frame of what she wanted to do and how she wanted to do it. So like, I really couldn't say or speak for her. Like, I don't think it would be fair.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate.
But there's no heat or anything like that.
No. I think that she thoroughly enjoyed her time in New Japan, and New Japan loved working with her, and obviously would love to continue to work with her. But yeah, no, I think everybody's pretty happy with the work that we've done. Obviously,
Right. And Jean, $5. Appreciate you as always. With the New Japan AEW partnership going strong now, is it possible that some of the young boys do an excursion in AEW, and who are the ones to look out for?
Yeah, no, I think that would be cool. I feel like what's cool about AEW setup is like, sending a young lion to like the Ring of Honor show and starting there and like building them up, and starting Ring of Honor, cool. Rampage, Collision, Dynamite, could be cool, and give them that experience. Fujita's a great standout. Honestly, there's so many. Oya was a great standout. I'm excited for this next batch of young lions to actually go out into the world and kind of see what happens. Because obviously, the ones that just came back, Yuya and Narita, Shota, Shota versus Ospreay was insane the other night, and I think that definitely New Japan's next generation is firing on all cylinders. Like, I'm not even worried about what's gonna, the future at all. I think that we've been really blessed with a great batch of young guys.
Absolutely. Huncho 499. Question for Rocky: how much longer do you plan on wrestling, and what are your long-term goals in the business?
Honestly, I thought it was going to be done at 40, but that didn't happen. So 41 last week. So no, I don't know. I definitely, the day that I can't perform to a certain level and expectation that I have personally is the day I'll be done in the ring, for sure. So, it's hard to say when that'll happen. It could be 3 years from now. It could be next year. It could be 10 years from now. But yeah, I have my own personal kind of standards of how I feel like, I should be wrestling, and kind of like how I want to always be presented, So, the day that ends and then I'm not able to, then that'll be the day I'm definitely done for sure. But long-term goals. I really enjoy what I'm doing now, and obviously, like, a big long-term goal would be like to grow the Strong brand even more in the US, and obviously like see New Japan grow more in the UK would be a big long-term goal, I think, and or in Europe in general, honestly. I think that there's some space to go to Germany and also Ireland, I think would be good markets for New Japan. So we'll see. Those are kind of like personal goals. I would love to win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship just one time before I'm done. Yeah.
Oh, I'd be beyond that one as well. Absolutely. Okay. Randy, $5. Rocky, what are your thoughts on WWE venturing into more lucha / puro talent, and can you ever see any partnership between them happening? That'd be interesting.
I mean, you never know, right? You actually never know. This is a professional wrestling business, entertainment business, so anything can happen. But I think that, you know, obviously, like working with AEW, you're kind of drawing, you know, the line in the sand there. You know,
Yes,
you can't really work with both. You know, like
you picked a side. You know, like
we picked a side, and we're very content with our partner. Yeah,
right. Absolutely.
Puro Kid 99 £2 says, Rocky, how influential has Gator been to you?
Yeah, super influential. Obviously, like one of the best professional wrestling minds, you know, of our generation for sure. And you know, and I think he, you know, what he's done with New Japan since 2009 when he started to now is, I mean, obviously we've, you know, obviously talent is important, you know, and but also having a person to be able to guide them there is just equally as important, you know. So yeah, for me, like I've learned a lot, you know, working with him, and I'll definitely cherish, you know, always my time working with him. Yeah, no, he's the man.
Yeah, man. Okay, we've got two more from the live chat, then we'll let you carry on getting on with your morning, Rocker. Darren, £5 says, CMLL had its biggest women's event of the year with the Grand Prix. Any women on the card that you'd like to see in New Japan or AEW next year?
I mean, obviously, like we've had Stephanie. I think she's one of the best, like honestly, the best wrestler, like my favorite wrestler to watch in CMLL, bar none. So I really think that having her be on the Strong brand and kind of really trying to have her in the mix is like super important to me right now. And just, I think she's just super marketable, and she look, you know, like she has a great look. She has a great presentation. I don't know. I think she's like cool. Like I like her presentation a lot. So I think, and she's, you know, she's a really, really good wrestler. So I feel like she could be like a big star. Yeah. So I think, yeah, definitely would want her to be like a staple in the women's division on Strong. Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely seems like someone we can build around. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, last one. Trust the process. 34,499 says, Rocky, has the topic of an AEW show in Mexico or Japan been broached with you, and can you see it being on the horizon?
Yeah, you know, definitely. There's been some talk. It's just like there's just certain, like they're not so easy to do when they're international like that. Like obviously, like if we did in Japan, like say we did a Forbidden Door in Japan, obviously like it would be New Japan doing a lot of the heavy lifting, you know, because obviously they have the resources here in Japan or in Mexico. Maybe CMLL, you know, it could be an option. You know, we're pretty far away from that right now. You know, I think, you know, because the relationship just started, but yeah, I mean, like that could definitely be a possibility in the future, hopefully. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Beautiful. We've we've fired a lot of questions off you today.
Yeah.
Quite a lot, you know. Well, early in the morning for you as well. I believe it was I believe you're not long flown as well, you know. So, you know, we appreciate you making the trip onto the podcast for us, and you've been great with the questions. Of course, you've answered questions from our audience as well. You've been great with one of them. I think I missed one. Sorry, Master. any Gallows and Anderson stories?
It's for last, I guess, right?
None that
if you want to leave us with one.
It's next summer will be 10 years, right? I think since Talking Shop started, which is is there celebrations planned? Is there going to be like some sort of national holiday? There should be, I feel, right?
There should be. Honestly, when I talk about my best work, I definitely feel like Talking Shop Mania is going to be there, in a part of that conversation too. Because like if you're really like a wrestling fan, then yeah, you definitely enjoyed Talking Shop Mania and all the wackiness like went along with it. But yeah, no, I love those guys so much. They're obviously like two of the funniest people I'd ever met in my life. Like literally the craziest, funniest people I've ever met in my life. So yeah. But they're also like a lot like Las Vegas. You just need like a day or two with them, and then you're good for like 6 months, a year.
Right.
So thank God they're in the WWE right now, not with me, because I could not handle that in my life. Yeah.
Shout out to the Good Brothers, man. Shout out to the Good Brothers.
Again, appreciate you for stopping by, Rocky. Of course, New Japan Lone Star Shootout this weekend. Like I mentioned earlier, it's one of the big New Japan US shows of the year. So there's a lot on there. Moxley's on the show, just to name a few. Got Kojima, as we mentioned on the show. Do you want to plug anything else, Rocky?
Yeah, I'll just plug the show real quick. Yeah, we got like you said, Dallas, Texas, this Friday night. Huge lineup. We've got a showdown between Moxley and Wheeler Yuta against David Finlay and Kenta. We've got Speedball Mike Bailey going against Zack Sabre Jr. for the TV title. Eddie Kingston defends the strong openweight championship against Satoshi Kojima. Shingo's defending the never openweight championship against Trent Beretta, my good friend. And we've got, CML stars, Mystico versus TJP. We've got Ultimo Guerrero, Hechicero, myself in a crazy tag match with like Mascara Dorada and Tiger Mask and a bunch of other people. It's just a hell of a card. Check it out, NJPW1972.com. It's going to be live on Fight TV. So no matter where you are in the world, you got access to Fight TV. It's a great platform. And for this Friday night, it's going to be a hell of a show.
Yeah, definitely.
Rocky, thank you so much for joining us today, brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, everyone make sure you're locked in. Everyone make sure they lock into Lone Star Shootout this Friday. And of course, like Ibu and Joe were just saying, thanks for stopping by. Massively appreciate you. And I guess we'll let you kind of carry on with your morning. I know it's early over there, even though you've been fresh and sharp with answering the questions with us. But I'm sure you've got more important things to do. So,
like 10 minutes before this interview, and was like,
respect.
All right, I got to splash water on my face. I was like, let's do this. But now I'm drinking coffee, so I might as well go to the gym or something now. Damn it! All right. Cool.
Rocky, thank you,
great, man.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Oh man,
great stuff, man. Great stuff. Love Rocky Romero. Those of you who watch the podcast know that we like I said when I was introducing him, he's very much like a cult favorite of WrestlePurists Worldwide crew. So it was great to talk to him, man.
Absolutely. I mean, it says a lot about his career that genuinely we had him for an hour and we barely scratched the surface. In and out, he's involved in so much. And, I think anyone who watches this show knows we're sincere in our appreciation and respect for that dude's body of work, right? He's been tremendous for years and years. So
talking of body of work, didn't even get to mention that he was a previous winner of the prestigious Oscar level award of WrestlePurists Wrestler of the Week over the summer.
Oh man.
Seriously, I mean, it's wild, Like you forget he mentioned that ELP match, and it's like you forget that was the best of Super Juniors, where like he had like a couple, half-hour matches as the main event of those shows, and they were incredible. He's just had an extraordinary career.
Yeah, man, he's awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys who watch it on delay or tomorrow, whenever you watch it, enjoy the interview as well. But back to normal programming, I guess, and we still need to talk about Giulia. We talked about Suri. Of course, she's signed with Sukaban. And Giulia, she's been like the big headline of the day. So it'd be criminal to kind of try and not talk about her today because, like I said, she has been the talk of the town. She's been the talk of the town. So PW Insider, kind of out of nowhere. Well, yeah, definitely out of nowhere. PW Insider, of course, very reliable for all kinds of wrestling reports. They reported that WWE has massive interest in signing Giulia from Stardom/Bushi Road. Sources in Japan confirmed WWE are trying to court her. Talks with WWE are long enough that she's expected at the WWE Performance Center this month. quite a lot of movement there, you know.
Yeah.
Not particularly that surprising when you think of the sort of talent that Giulia is. I think a lot of fans in the US and Europe and stuff like that have been in the know about Giulia have been kind of waiting for an AEW or WWE to finally come knocking, you know, and
Right.
it seems like that time is imminent, Holbert.
It does. I think the story here is it's surprising how, as you said, it came out of nowhere and the degree of report it was, right? With the PC in it, it's kind of whoa. But it's one of those ones you take, a second to kind of register and go, well, yeah, of course they want to sign Giulia. Like she's like the most obvious fit. If you were going to pick anyone from the Joshi scene to cross over and be a major star on US TV, we would all immediately say Giulia, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not surprising at all. It's look, I totally understand why there's like an instinctual pushback on the news. I get it. I'm not going to tell anyone how to feel about it, but if that deal came together, her ceiling there would be like insane. Now,
Yeah.
it would be something different as it always is with WWE. You have to keep that, but like, yeah, that could be a wild deal if it comes together. It's going to be very interesting to
100%.
follow. Yeah.
Ibu, I know, I know that the initial report caught you off guard, but yeah, man, what do you think, Giulia to WWE? It seems like, it's not like the report says that it's definitely happening and pen's been put to paper, but there seems like there's some momentum in that direction.
Yeah, it's funny because for those that don't know, I took a nap after I got all my Sukiban jokes off. I was on my porch. I was drinking my morning drink of choice, and I was just like, it's been a good morning, And then I went to sleep. I wake back up at like 2 or some shit, and then Monty sent the announcement of the podcast. I'm like, all right, and I'm like, oh, you secured the Rocky thing, cool. Then I like double check. I was like, wait, Giulia to W. What the fuck is he talking about? Then I go to his page and I read the report and I just start howling with laughter. I can tell you guys this, man. I didn't hear her directly named in any of the conversations I had with people within the company, but I said this when the Jade thing went down. Post merger, they're going to be just really aggressive again in terms of acquiring talent, and the modus operandi is get young, specifically get young wrestlers with upside. And if they're getting them from outside of WWE and they're getting them, the preference is international and people that have had notoriety and they have high ceilings. And that's why, like I've said many times before, the conversations and names thrown out, people that are valued by William Regal, the names again, it's what they said. Names like Kaito Kiyomiya, for example. So it's like these high-end international names from wrestlers that are young, that are really good, and they have that, that WWE it factor of the star presentation and that type of thing. So does it shock me that they're interested in Giulia? Absolutely fucking not. Any company, any competent wrestling promotion should look at Giulia in her mid-20s and say, that is a superstar. I want her on my roster. So, yeah, man. Sean Rossap recently just was able to confirm the PW Insider report about their interest. PW Insider was talking about they wanted to get her in the PC soon. Dave made the whole comment about, she technically can't go into the PC here. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just to touch on that, more about it, but just to touch on that, Dave Meltz put in his F4W forum that Giulia is under contract through March, and she can't go to the PC without permission from Bushi Road, which is, of course, the parent company of New Japan and Stardom. And currently, she is booked up until January. Carry on, Ibu.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that happening, and I honestly think like both Dave and Mike Johnson are right. If that, as weird as that sounds, to be honest with you, but nevertheless, the WWE's potential tampering is not my concern or whatever. But that's that got nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? But yeah, I do think that they're trying to get her, and if I think that they will land her if they give her a good money deal. Quite frankly. That's just kind of how these things go, to be honest with you. When I heard the stuff with Sari, even though she signed with Envy Bond, I think that when she was a potential returnee for WWE, like I don't see that much of upside in her in the sense that like it's just she's not Katsuhiko Nakajima, but on the spectrum of like Nakajima to Giulia, she's like closer to Nakajima, if that makes any sense. Whereas I do think Giulia very much is a like she's that. You know what I mean? Like she's.
Bro, you need a
I don't know,
graphic.
man.
You need an actual
I don't know
visual
if I know
graphic
what
now.
you mean.
You need those two like images on opposite ends. You could just place wrestlers on this imaginary chart that you've just built. You know,
if you're closer to the Nakajima spectrum of the spectrum, just stay in Japan. You know, just stay in Japan. If you're in the middle, go to AEW. Maybe depends on how you know. And if you're on the Giulia side, you know, and you're young and you look great and you can work, but you have the stars, je ne sais quoi, and all that type of stuff. Yeah, if Paul Levesque wants to offer you upwards of 6-figure money, of course you take the fucking money and see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, then you go back to wherever you were, and you know you go from there. So,
yeah. That's what the cushion that a lot of these Japanese stars will have, and it's like they can. It's like we've seen it time and again, whether it's with Kenta, whether it's with Sarii, we've just been talking about. You know what I mean? Like you can come to WWE and they can absolutely fumble you, and you can go back to Japan, and it won't happen overnight, but you can build yourself back up because that Japanese audience, they remember and they cherish the memories, brother. You know, so yeah, man. Speaking of other signings as well. Fightful Select reported that Megan Bain, who has just been recently wrestling in Stardom, she's just had a run there. She's been signed to AEW for months, apparently. And interestingly, I got a DM after we aggregated this report, which, like I said, it's just a DM. This isn't me reporting, it's just a DM received. And I think it's interesting enough because it came from a decent enough sized account. I won't bait them out and drop the name, but they said that they met her back in May, and she said that she was signed in AEW before this announcement, maybe in late 2022, maybe in late 2021, early 2022. They had plans for her, which included a backstage segment with Vicky Guerrero, but she tore her ACL in February 2022. The AEW doctors were the last doctors to clear her for in-ring action. She also said that she wanted to compete in Japan, like she just did, and AEW wanted her to be part of the Collision roster. So that was a DM I received off someone who wasn't just like a random lunatic. So
you may recall, Monique, there was a match on Dark. I'm not even sure if it aired, but she taped a match for Dark where she got a full star presentation on the squash match win. And it was like, it wasn't the kind of presentation they were going to just give someone, for fun, right? And then the injury happened. So this story was kind of like a loose end in that regard, in that we didn't have a follow-up, but I'm not surprised at all because I remember that being what happened just before the injury. So it makes sense. And it's cool that she's still getting to work Japan because she's going to come back better for that. Right,
absolutely.
Like we've been saying that as a pitch for the longest anyway with AEW, right? Like getting talent to go elsewhere. So it may end up being the best thing that ever happened to her, weirdly enough. So
even though she obviously didn't have her first match under an AEW banner and an AEW ring, she's relatively unknown to this audience, and she's still kind of finding her footing. And so, if she puts it together within an AEW setting and really becomes something, then that's technically, in my definition, a homegrown there. And the division can absolutely use more productive homegrown members of the roster because right now there's a very repetitive circle of women being cycled in and out of the shows, and expanding that is a positive, and expanding that with somebody that is on the younger side is a positive.
She's unique too, right? Yeah. She's going to bring something different to that division. So
she's tall, really tall. Yeah. Before we switch,
you meant that sincerely, but it sounded so like dismissive. Yeah, she's tall,
Yeah,
she's like talking about Hikuleo or something. Like,
Monty, who was it? What wrestler was it that like? I would bring him up, and you're just like, he's big. He's big. Was it Big Bill? Was it literally Big Bill?
Well, he definitely is.
I know who it was. It was Big Braun, brother.
He's big.
He's well, he's very.
I've been Omos as well.
He's tall.
That's a victim of the Triple H regime that doesn't benefit you, I guess.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
It's not like Omos isn't a hill that I think I'm willing to live or die on, but it's like
I am.
When someone said, when you've got a huge black 7'4" guy on your roster, it's like you can get some baby faces over here, brother.
He did have a couple like fun matches too.
I thought
it's all relative.
The streets remember the WrestleMania Classic with Bob Lash.
Brock.
The spear to the kidneys. Yeah.
I gotta be honest. He was starting to get kind of real until Hunter shut him down.
Oh, he was. He's
Well,
tall too.
Big wrestlers rule.
I have an update for the audience. Some Jay Blood reached out to me on Twitter because he reminded me, who held me accountable, said, "Hey man, you were going to tell us this on Monday." So folks, it was asked yesterday on the Sunday WrestlePurists live stream if AEW knows who the devil is, and I did ask. I asked members very high up in creative, "Do you guys know who the devil is?" And I got to say this for our audience. This is good news. The people that need to know who the devil is know who the devil is. They have decided who the devil is. They knew who it was before the angle started. And
it seems so obvious. That's what I love about this, is that AEW's got to the point where people in the fan base feel the need to ask.
Do you guys even know who the fuck this is? It's kind of, but it's like fucking dude. Like Raw in WWE, they had that anonymous Raw GM, and they had no clue who the fuck it was. Or like TNA, like they didn't know for sure who the fuck Suicide was. In wrestling, they do this sometimes. Where, like they do a mystery angle, and then it's like, who is it? And they just throw their hands up. Oh, we'll fucking figure it out. I don't know. And there is a little bit of we'll figure it out as we go along with AEW's creative these days. But regarding the devil, I can tell the audience that you guys can rest easy knowing that they know who it is. Do I know who it is? Who knows? No, I'm kidding. I don't fucking.
Don't do that.
Then I don't know.
John Cena, bro. Did you see he was on the show last week? They had advertised. They're fooling me. That shit don't happen by accident,
Absolutely.
Puts over Solo on his way out the territory.
He's going to AEW. I asked AEW. I was like, do you guys know who the devil is? Yes. Can you tell me who the devil is? And they're just like, no, we cannot.
Good shit. Right. Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for AEW.
Right. Absolutely.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, right.
Good for them.
Good fucking stuff,
All right. So, weekend recap. Of course, we reviewed Crown Jewel yesterday. We spoke some Collision yesterday. But elsewhere in AEW over the weekend, of course, we had Rampage, which included the Lucha Freeway. Of course, we spoke quite a bit of Lucha today, of course, with Rocky. But, yeah, man, there was quite an exciting Lucha Freeway on Rampage. Yeah. It was, it was exactly that. It was quite an exciting freeway on Rampage, It was good stuff, man. Inventive, cool stuff. And also we had Trent Beretta versus Daniel Garcia. And, of course, Daniel Garcia calls out MJF with a live promo after the match. And he gets his match with MJF, which we are getting this Wednesday on Dynamite. So, yeah, man, some nice little highlights there, Hulbert.
There was, mate. The Lucha match was a great party match. Really got the people going. You could actually tell that folks kind of treated that as their main event. It felt like in the building. It seemed like a lot of people like that was that was the highlight, and they left there. But that set the stage for the truly perverse Joe Holbert Promotions show close with Daniel Garcia and Trent Beretta, in which they just sort of whacked each other and had this like tremendous match to, I was a big fan house of that. By that point. It was really good. And
it was good.
The house had thinned and people were a little tired. And I say this all the time. And this is where Trent Beretta is like, I think he's such a reliable and underrated pro wrestler. His reaction to that is, well, I suppose we should just whack each other and fall on the top of our heads. And sure they did. And him and Garcia was happy to meet him in the middle on that. So they had a really physical match. Great to see Daniel Garcia have a extended singles match. I really, really enjoyed it. It's one of those matches where, because of the vibe, it had a ceiling, but had a ceiling, but it was my kind of deal, like a 3 1/4 that's just kind of grimy and gritty and kind of gross, like just whacking each other and sweating everywhere while the commentators talk about the devil or whatever the fuck,
What's funny? Here's the thing about it, Joe. What makes it grimy is like a 3 1/4 with middling heat in like a big venue, like at the Saudi show, is like, it just kind of feels like empty and hollow. But a 3 1/4 where they're like really hurting each other, and like it's a smaller venue and like there's nobody there. Also,
it's real graps.
It's kind of real,
WCW worldwide, brother.
I was going through Cage Match looking at some stuff, and it would be like Cactus Jack Vader Texas Death Match on a fucking worldwide, and I click it, and like I click the show date and like the attendance, and it'll say like 2,300, and I'm like, oh, let's go,
Yeah, but yeah, some good shit. Garcia, of course.
Garcia's a fucking beast, man. Shout out to him.
People have been rooting for him. You know, a lot of people rooting for him to kind of get something. You know, and it seems like he's getting some. He's definitely getting something this Wednesday with a world title shot. Hopefully, it then spins into, you know, like maybe 2.0 was somewhat involved in the finish. You know, and it's like that's the moment that he drops them, and you know, it's like I can go do this by myself, and you kind of make a point of that, and you build some wins with him, and blah 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 blah. But hopefully, it spins in something. I'm sure the match will be very good as well. So shout out Daniel Garcia. Nothing new
it
here.
It should be
the
noted. I was able to confirm over the weekend. Wednesday is officially Daniel Garcia Day globally. So that kind of works as like a coupon across the world. So keep that in mind.
I can work with that. Yeah. All right, we're going to talk. I guess we'll glance over SmackDown. I know we spoke about Crown Jewel. We'll kind of talk a little bit about New Japan and more answer some super chats.
Before we do, if you know, I love the worldwide audience and we trust you guys. So just don't. If I give you the scoop, just don't leak it. Don't take it to the timeline. Just behave and just leave it alone. It'll. You know, the world will know about it.
You remember Dave when he said that Punk thing in the forum and he was like, well, that wasn't for the public, you know, and it was on pro.
You know, in this case, you know, I love you guys and half of you guys won't even give a shit. But, you know, since I know it, might as well share it. I believe the World Heavyweight Championship is being defended tonight by Seth Rollins, and he's defending it against Samuel Zayn. So...
Yeah. They should switch the belt.
I was gonna say, Joe. I immediately Joe. I replied to the person who told me this. I said, "Can you book him? Can you book Sammy to win?" I'm gonna keep it a whole. So he's not, but like Judgment Day is gonna come out. Drew's gonna turn heel. It's gonna be like so much chicanery, and Seth's gonna win, right? But
that should rule, bro. For real, it should rule.
Honestly, Monty, if Sammy just straight up beat this nigga, just or any one of the worldwide members protesting this, if this nigga just
the answer.
We might be going live after if it happened. To be honest with you,
honestly, just fucking man, bro. Like in 2000, we were just like Chris Jericho beat Hunter. You know what I mean? Like just flip it. You know,
genuinely, I want to make this clear. This isn't even a Seth bit. Yeah. Sami Zayn is like
this fucking rules.
I just find him to be astonishing, man. Like this last year where he's just turned into a great worker again, like belt to belt. Because you know, for a couple of years after the injuries, he was doing character stuff. And he was great at it, but it was a different style. He's still one of the best in-ring baby faces in the whole world now. It's like staggering wrestler, man. Bro. Genuinely like all-time wrestling brain. I think he'll be. Valuable wrestling for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Paul Levesque, do it! Flip the belts!
That was my campaign.
I'm getting fired up.
But yeah,
do it.
All right, SmackDown. Just a quick glance. Bayley versus Bianca. I think delivered, man. It was a very nice match. Very nice SmackDown match. Nice TV women's match. Very much enjoyed that. LA Knight and Roman Reigns, of course, interacted before the Crown Jewel match, which I thought LA Knight absolutely, again, held his own in there in a big spot. There was a fun, what's it called? A Donnybrook match with Braun and Brutes and Pretty Deadly. That was kind of fun. The Rey Mysterio, Logan Paul weigh-in was fucking hilarious.
That was really funny. Wrestling should do more weigh-ins. They're always kind of bad, which makes them great. You know, like I love them, all of them. I've never disliked the wrestling weigh-in. I'm so serious. I've liked every one of them. Swear to God, there's like a Cody Jake Hager one, a 10 out of 10. You know,
God, Cody was so serious in those.
He took it so serious.
Bro he was fighting for the WBC heavyweight title. You know,
Hager had his whole camp with him and shit. You know, Cody's talking about his like nutrition plan and preparation and shit.
He's so awesome, bro. What a freak that dude is.
John Moxley came down with like a fucking eye patch for his weigh-in and shit on Chris Jericho. Listen, Tony Khan, you want to be an alternative. You want to distinguish yourself. No more 1998 Raw segments, because if you do them without, you know, Stone Cold, They're not as good or cool. We've seen so many variations of them for years. So you want to be an alternative? Give me more messy, unstructured, unscripted, hilarious, chaotic weigh-in segments. All right, let's do this, Tony. Let's get back to some weigh-ins.
Last thing from the weekend I want to bring up, unless there's anything else you want to expand on from SmackDown. New Japan power struggle. I didn't manage to catch this myself, but it'd be criminal for us to not mention it during a weekend recap. And I know Hulbert and Ibu enjoyed very much a couple of the matches on the card. The two main matches on the card, from the feedback I've seen, has definitely been the Will Ospreay versus Shota Umino match, which I did manage to catch. Then we got Moxley versus Great-O-Khan, which I managed to catch it, kind of. I had it on. I wasn't super locked in, but I got a gist of it. Will Ospreay and Shota Umino was a great main event. It's Ospreay, isn't it? It's what Ospreay does. But Shota Umino as well, it was a huge match for him, and he absolutely stepped up, etc., etc. And even though he didn't win the belt, it felt like a really strong step in the right direction for him. Moxley versus Great-O-Khan, hilariously over-delivered. So,
oh man,
yeah,
that's the match of the week, Monty.
Go on, Bill.
That's the match of the week, Monty. Come on now. Jon Moxley, you forget sometimes how awesome he is, because he sometimes he tries to avoid it, and he does a good job sometimes, but sometimes he gets stuck in just the muck and the grind of weekly wrestling TV. And I don't think he himself knows what the fuck he is or what he's doing on AEW right now in terms of his heel face alignment. And like on Collision, he's like, running in sometimes to fight other stables and shit. And then on like Dynamite, he's feuding with like Orange Cassidy. And like, I have no clue what he's doing, right? But this guy is a bad, bad man. As Taz said once before, I am a miserable, mean, and nasty man. When John walked into Japan, he's just a miserable, mean, and nasty man. He channels the spirit of Terry Funk. He channels the spirit of Bruiser fucking Brody. And he came in there with Great-O-Khan and said, we are not going to wrestle. Goes to a count out. He says, we're not leaving like that. We do false count anywhere. And you know what he did, folks? He just bled and dragged this motherfucker up and down the seats and shit with no rhyme. He's just doing shit, just whacking him a little bit and punching and threw him a couple chairs over. He hit an old lady or some shit. Every so often you might get a kick or a forearm or something. And then in the final stretch, right? He gets out of that area and he puts his fists up. He's like, all right, fuck it. UWF, nigga. And then like O'Khan starts to like kick him a little bit, leg kicks, and Mox is like, all right, this is what we're doing. All right, okay, cool. And they start doing like work shoot fighting, and it just ruled, man. It just fucking ruled. He gives him a Death Rider on the floor and wins. He had like this. His look was great. He had the white taped fist with just like the denim jeans. And if you know me, as a freak for gear lore, and specifically Moxie's gear lore, Mox is Super Saiyan 3 when he's in the denim jeans and the white taped fists. It's his best version. He was in this gear when he was in the first Anarchy in the Arena match. So everything about this, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the greatest Thunder match of all time. So listen, 10 out of 10, match of the week, absolute art, beautiful, no notes. And I just appreciated how novel it came off amongst all the other wrestling I watched this weekend. And it came at the right time, and I needed it. I just really needed it. And they just kind of stumbled around the seats, for 15 minutes. Good shit, John.
It was a treat, man. It was a treat. And I mean, you nailed it. That's the key. It felt so novel in that setting. It was a real throwback too. Moxley is, he has a lot of range, but this will always be my preferred version of Jon Moxley. Like just absolute unapologetic Terry Funk cosplay, and I mean that as the biggest compliment imaginable. This was so funk. It had that like inherent comedy that his stuff has, where it's like they're not doing bits, but like just look at these lunatics. They're like falling down the stairs and shit. And at one point, one of the funniest parts of the match is when Mox says "falls count anywhere." O'Khan doesn't accept. He just chucks a barricade at him, and Mox just sort of fences it. I mean, it was just glorious. But with that being said, I don't have it as the match of the show because we have a slight disconnect on Shota and Ospreay. I know you liked it.
You're a fucking piece of shit, Joe.
Brother. when I watched this match the first time, I said that was a great match.
You conforming follower, Joe. You disgraceful.
I'm innocent. Hold on. I watched the first one. I said that was a great match, and I rewatched it. I saw something different, and the third watch confirmed him. This is for the match guide. I tried to watch every match a couple of times. This match was astonishing, and honestly, is not just in the top tier of Will Ospreay matches this year, but I actually thought in the end came dangerously close to January 4th. Dangerously close. Yes.
What?
This match was magnificent. It's a match built around the idea of Shota Umino's killer instinct, or at times lack thereof. First, there isn't a traditional match. He opts against using the table, for example. And then there's that moment in the corner where Ospreay's firing away with the kicks, and he busts Shota's nose, and the match changes. And Shota transforms in that moment, and he starts showing that killer instinct. And it works so well because while he's just meeting the challenge that was set for him, Saka, they're with Ospreay. So they're able to cheer Ospreay, making kind of de facto babyface comebacks, because the match has turned on him. Ospreay's suddenly on the ropes. And then the table spot transitions back to the original dynamic, which is Umino as an underdog. And there's one point where Ospreay has back mount and he's crawling to the ropes. He gets mounted and he spits in Ospreay's face in a show of defiance. It's like actual cinematic wrestling, genuinely. Moxley's at ringside giving the Rocky speech, and it's like he fights to his feet and he overcomes Ospreay and he has an answer to every single question. He has him beat. And Ospreay finds this hidden blade that is the coolest hidden blade he's ever hit in his whole career. He bounces to his feet and just boom, wipes him out of it. And that was one life too many for Shota Umino, and he couldn't quite close the deal. Again, you can tell by the way I'm talking about it. Rewatch, I thought this was maybe the second best match of the year. This was extraordinary.
I'm fucking tired of you, Joe. You know that? Because now I gotta watch it again. I gotta watch it again.
Through the whole but lens.
Yeah, I gotta.
Look, you could tell that was sincere. I wasn't just that was my honest read on it.
I gotta watch this thing back. And then I'm probably gonna see it your way, and it's fuck. Monty, I don't know if you probably weren't that aware of dude, when I first watched Aoyagi versus Miyahara the first time, I kind of hated it, right? And I kind of liked the feeling of being mad at the match, and so it was all right, yeah, fuck it, it sucks. And then I watched it again, I was oh fuck no, this is pretty good, and I was god damn it, so I watched it again. I did think it was really good. I just thought that there was about 7 matches Will Ospreay had this year that were better.
I thought you've been saying since it happened that you think the Speedball match is the second best Ospreay match of the year. I thought this was comfortably better than the Speedball match, to be honest.
Go fuck yourself,
it had more feeling to it, man. And I'm a sucker for that shit, Speedball match was tremendous, obviously it belongs in the top tier of Ospreay matches this year, which is very, very elite company because he's having a comically good year when it comes to in-ring. So, yeah, man, this Shota match is absolutely right up there. But yeah, New Japan Power Struggle. Those are kind of the highlights from that. Have you guys got any other notes from Power Struggle at all?
The Never Open Weight 6-man was very, very good. Very, very good.
That guy, Zack Sabre Jr., he's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Man, there's going to have speaking of Speedball, Lone Star Shootout this weekend, Friday, as booked by Rocky Romero, famously on the WrestlePurists Worldwide podcast, moments ago. It's going down. All right, let's dive into some super chats before we wrap it up then.
Monty, so Three Brothers are wrestling DIY tonight.
Hope they're winning 4 minutes.
I just realized who's winning this. Wait. Yeah, wait a minute.
Let me give you a clue, brother. It's the heavyweights.
Big lads.
Joe is gonna send me something nasty if it's just Julius just monstering the shit out of Johnny and suplexing him like a fucking.
It will be awesome. I just fuck around here.
No, you're probably you might be right.
I kind of should be if we're being real, but nonetheless.
Graps. Big fan of graps. All right, super chats. So if you got any, get them in right now because we've got 5 minutes to just power through fucking 15 of these. Zad 94.99. Supremely random, but imagine a hardcore three-way between Foley, Darby, and Jeff Lowe. If Will does sign with WWE, what would you want his Mania match to be? The three-way sounds chaos. Will Ospreay signing with WWE? Who would have wanted his Mania match to be? It would be Rollins, but who do I want it to be?
Who you go nuts with, Monty?
Finn
KO.
would pop me huge.
Finn would be good. Can you imagine what KO would do with him?
KO, yeah,
Kevin would go nuts. Bro.
KO, yeah, probably KO. No, yeah.
I'd go KO or Gunther if it was up to me.
I think Drew could do something phenomenal as well.
That would be pretty good. Yeah.
Obviously, Gunther, they've wrestled a lot, so I'd like to see what this version of Ospreay
For sure.
versus this version of the newly named Gunther.
Yeah, because Ospreay could trade bombs with him a little bit nowadays, right? It'd be very interesting. Absolutely.
Puro Kid 99, appreciate you as always. Need them go live to send Regal Mariah matches. Spiteful. Showtime Spurs, $2, appreciate you. High line with 9 men is real graps, mate. Shout out Chelsea FC for one of the worst 4-1 wins I've ever seen in my life today. Darren Walker, £2. Monty, thank you from an Arsenal fan. You're welcome. Yeah, that game was crazy. Yuzura Hart, $5, appreciate it. Yeah, I like Giulia. Me when I see NXT 2.0 clip on Twitter next year. Yeah, there'll probably be a lot of that. I've already seen people calling her a headbutt merchant, so. Showtime Spurs, $10, appreciate you. Hey Tone, you see that new broad in the performance center? She looks Japanese, but they say she's got a little Italian in her. Wonder if she'd like a bit more bada bing. Stacks.
You got all right. Let me try to do that in the actual. Hey Tony, you see that new broad in the performance center? She looks Japanese, but they say she's got a little Italian in her. Wonder if she like a bit more. Hey, bada bing. No.
Will Chisholm, $2. This feels like she's signed a death row deal. That came in when we were talking about Serena. Trust the process, 34,499. Appreciate it. Money, if you're going to interview more guests, for the love of God, get this man Ibu on camera out here talking to an avatar. Shake my head. He knows, bro. 2024. If he's not on camera by 2024, he'll be fine every episode. But he's not.
Guy is. I thought we were cool, TTP. Like, what's you being an op right now, man?
What? I don't know what you're hiding from. Will Chisholm, $5. Triple H is nasty for Stardom shopping talent. This got to be a William Regal play. I think it's nasty because it's a promotion full of great talent, you know. I find it funny. This I know he's only fucking around. Will he's one of our great. Yeah, he's one of our best. He's only messing around, but it is something that I've seen. So Triple H does stuff. It gets called nasty. But when Tony does it, it's fucking, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like I don't get what makes it nasty for Triple H.
Well, hypocrisy does kind of rule, to be fair.
Right? Here's the thing about it. You're totally within your right to like not want wrestlers you like to go to the company that you don't like, right? But that's completely different than like suggesting foul play if like a guy running the company wants to get good people. You know, like
yeah.
Of course, yeah. I want a good wrestler. You fucking nasty mother piece of fucking.
Yeah, God bless. You know. Yeah. Again, I know Will's only fucking around, but that is something I've seen. Not people, Triple H. It's like, yeah, he wants a great wrestler. Like, do you know what I mean? Anyway, Andrew the Giant, £5, appreciate it. The coping tweets of names of wrestlers that will step up when Giulia leaves. Triple H and Regal are bookmarking these names for future signings.
Regal on his burner.
Yeah, Starlight Kid 2020, Starlight Kid 2025. You know.
Yeah.
Trust the process, $20. Appreciate you massively. Regarding Ibu's Punk update, why wouldn't Tony Khan make a preemptive move with Punk if he knew this was WWE's plan with him? Plus, based on what adding Cody did to their business, even a non-talent deal to be in the shadows to help with booking.
That'd be so funny.
Ibu, if you want to.
Regarding Ibu's Punk, why wouldn't Tony make a preemptive move with Punk if he knew this was the... I don't know. I don't know. I cannot get into the mind of Tony Khan. I can.
Yeah, fair.
That's it.
We've only got a minute left, so
yeah.
Let's not even try. dive into that man's mind. I guess my quick answer would just kind of be, I don't actually think that would be much of an option for him with the way Punk's relationship ended up being with much of the locker room. Brainbuster 499. Joe, be honest, you got butterflies putting that hat on before going live, didn't you?
I actually I was gone for a second. Like the Nitro opening video started playing around me, you know? Field of Dream style. It was very special.
Sapito, 499. Appreciate it. Joe working towns on the pod gives me the same vibes when watching Eddie Kingston on TV. Real as fuck.
That's great.
Like way too kind. Like miles too kind. That makes me embarrassed.
It's a beautiful thing, Joe.
It's beautiful.
Rob,
Thank you.
member of the WrestlePurists family, Rob of Unpurists, paragraph 499. Appreciate your brother. Kurt Angle won the WWE title on Forgiven and lost it back on Raw in 01. It's time to go back to that time period. We make movies. Hashtag NXT Bear.
This is in reference to Sammy versus Seth Rollins.
Absolutely.
Respect.
Absolutely. And the last super chat before we get out of here, Huncho 999. Appreciate it. I get everyone is excited about Daniel Garcia getting a shot, but how is that plus Mark J different? The same rando, non-story TK booking. Also, guess anyone can ask and get a title shot plus number one contender shot, no matter how much I lose.
It's not different. It's not different, but DG rules. And Joe, what did you say about hypocrisy earlier?
It fucking rules, brother.
In fairness, though, as well, like we talked about this exact thing yesterday on the show that we did yesterday. It's like, yeah, the graphics are great and it's a step in the right direction, but it's not really fixing the fundamental issues that a lot of people have with the creative. So with that, I hope everyone enjoys Raw. Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins, apparently, so that'll be a banger. You hope. We'll be rooting for Sami Zayn here at WrestlePurists Worldwide. Appreciate you guys for stopping by. Massive thanks again to Rocky Romero. That was a great talk we had with him. But yeah, please like the video, guys, especially because we got the interview in. Leave a comment if you're watching this on delay or if you've got a minute like after we posted this. And subscribe if you haven't already. Massively appreciate the super chats and all the questions and stuff like that as always. And subscribe. Thanks for the super chats. And until next time, people, which will be potentially tomorrow. I'm saying we're 70-30 for tomorrow, 100% for Wednesday, etc., etc. You know the score, guys. Keep an eye on the Twitter page. Peace.